Just when you think it couldn't get worse for Justin Trudeau, it actually does. And I feel like I'm saying this every single week, but here we are. It keeps becoming even more of a reality and we keep getting surprised. Welcome back to another video, everybody. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be very positive because it seems like Justin Trudeau has dug himself into an even further hole that is just irreversible. This is going to be maybe a bit of a longer video. We have quite a few things to cover, but it's all pretty much positive news at just how shit Justin Trudeau is doing in the polls, and outside of the polls, in reality, how bad it actually is for him. But before we get into it, I want to encourage you guys to give a like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It really helps grow the channel, as well as a word from today's sponsor. I want to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. We've teamed up together and PIA is willing to offer my audience 83% off by using code SUNSHINE. Now, here in Canada with Justin Trudeau in power, not only is he kind of like a communist dictator, but he's also censoring the internet, which is why you need a VPN to encrypt yourself and be able to bounce around different geolocations to really mask your not only digital footprint, but to mask your identity, because right now it's hard enough as it is to even get the news. That's right. Bill C-18 prevents users, everyday people such as yourself, myself, from accessing simple information that is our freedom of rights to information here in Canada. If you go on Facebook, you currently can't even see Canadian news. It's wild, and who knows what's next. Maybe he's going to ban everything with Google, maybe here on YouTube. So you need to cover yourself and protect yourself with a VPN such as Private Internet Access. And what better way to do that here in Canada than having 83% off? The link for that is down in the description below, as well as the pinned comment. Use code SUNSHINE with Private Internet Access for 83% off. Thank you, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring today's video. Okay, polls. Let's focus first on the polls. This is insane, and my jaw absolutely dropped when I saw this. So we have the popular vote projection of the Conservatives hitting around 40%. And when we look at the seats, we're looking at potentially 204 seats where you only need 170 for a majority. Now, the low end projection is actually saying 174. So no matter what, based off of this poll, on the very low end, it seems like the Conservatives, or Pierre Poilievre, is going to get a majority government. And that's validated right here. Odds of outcome, Conservative majority, 98% likely. If you've got money and you want to gamble on this, it seems like Vegas odds are saying no matter what, the Conservatives are going to win. And so this is incredible because you've never seen an opposition party this favorable. Like, all roads are leading to majority is almost guaranteed. Minority if shit really hits the fan in some sort of way that we just weren't expecting. So there's a positive. Now let's get into a bit of negatives, but also somewhat positives. Pierre Poilievre is bashing Trudeau on Twitter, saying, of course, Team Trudeau is directing even more money to the CBC to campaign for Liberals. Other outlets, such as the Canadian Press, are now forced to shower Liberals with good news to get their share of the money. Remember that when you see their next hit piece on me, and this is the Heritage Minister says it makes sense for CBC to get Google funds and suggests that a cap is possible. Deal reached with Google makes $100 million per year available to news companies. Again, you got Chrystia Freeland's ego saying, I love CBC. So this is potentially going to be bad because you're going to see the Liberals campaigning with funds that they probably haven't really had before. But the beautiful thing about social media is people see through the bullshit. And even if you're funding ads, the Conservative government, the Conservative Party of Canada has pretty much done everything organic. I have not personally seen a single ad from Pierre Poilievre's official account. There are ads that play on TV, like Conservative ads where Pierre is in it, but in terms of, like, you know, a sponsored ad of Pierre Poilievre of his actual social media, I haven't really seen that. It's not to say that it's not happening, but I don't think that the Conservatives at this point need to be pushing more money into ads on social media. They already have a very good organic reach. And it just helps that the Conservatives are dominating in pretty much every field, especially the main stage like question period. So now let's take a look at a video that just doesn't show Justin Trudeau in a good light at all. This is from the amazing Zoltan on Twitter. It says a Trudeau speech so dystopian and creepy it's hard to believe. He brags about overthrowing Canada's democracy, jokes about the inflation crisis, revels in never taking responsibility, and then leaves everyone speechless when he compares Jordan Peterson and Pierre to Hitler. Absolutely unhinged.
When the Conservative Party looked at the Ottawa occupation, they thought, this is an expression of righteous anger, and we must support them. But Liberals, we looked at a group of people with a written agreement to overthrow the government, and we said, great idea, get Jagmeet on the phone. I myself spent a lot of time this year surrounded by honking and wailing. I don't know what their deal was, but the geese and loons at Harrington just wouldn't shut up. But I have to admit, I have learned a lot since 2015. Now, instead of having to apologize and take responsibility for whatever it is, whenever something goes wrong, I adopted new approaches. Because yes, the summer had its ups and downs, and not just the bungee jump.
Downses.
We all remember my scandal at the Finnish embassy. Oh, actually, no, you don't remember that, because I got my hair cut that weekend. Of course, supply chain snarls and global inflation are hitting people hard. So we apologize if the meat was tough tonight or if you chip a tooth on a bread roll. But I swear we will eventually have a dental plan for you at some point. Last summer, Pierre told his pal Jordan Peterson that he's a, quote, believer in using simple Anglo-Saxon words. I know, I didn't get it either, but I'm told it sounds much better in the original German.
That obviously was not received very well. Pretty unhinged speech. It actually is hard to believe it's real. It is quite creepy. And speaking of creepy, this brings us to our next video where Justin Trudeau actually shows up to do a photo op at a condo in Ajax. This is from Daisy Media on Twitter or on X, saying, as rent and home prices soar, Prime Minister Trudeau had a photo op in a half-empty Ajax condo building this week. His RCMP detail gave a resident a hard time and were blocking the elevators in her building.
Trudeau is at our building, the fucking tyrant he is. Do you guys feel good protecting a tyrant, destroying Canadians' lives? Yeah, Trudeau's fucking Secret Service everywhere, protecting a fucking tyrant. You guys are protecting a tyrant.
That's American. This is Canada.
Well, how do you sleep at night protecting that fucking guy who's committed? Yeah, I live here.
They're correcting her on the words of Secret Service.
Pedophiles.
Why would they be
protecting pedophiles?
Doing that?
Yeah, this is what our tax money is going to. Sorry, I live here. Don't get in my face, sir. This is Trudeau's pedophile protectors. It's all they paid by the Obamas and Clintons. Yeah? No. Where's the tyrant? Why is our tax money being wasted while people are homeless and can't afford to eat, but this is what our money's going towards? How do you fucking people sleep at night? Fucking disgusting.
Look how many people there are. There's 4 dudes, 4 armed dudes that are there to what? Contain this woman? She has a cell phone. She's probably like 150 pounds. This is insane. These intimidation attempts by liberal enforcers is part of the reason why they just can't repair their image. They're trying to dominate everything by force, and it's not working. That's not how a democracy works.
The sad excuses of men. Yeah, don't give a shit about homeless people. CBC is the worst fucking paid news network. Oh yeah. Yeah, keep protecting tyrants. How many times has he committed treason?
11 times.
Yeah. How come he's not in jail?
Oh, but there's CBC.
Oh, but you want it? Yeah, CBC protecting pedophiles and tyrants. You guys are fucking disgusting.
Chinese broadcasting network.
Yeah, Canadian Chinese broadcasting network selling out your own fucking country, you pieces of shit.
Okay, wow, that's pretty Pretty out there, I would say, folks. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. When you look at the comments of this post, there's a lot of support. Someone buy her a beer. Wow, she gives a masterclass in bravery. The RCMP knows that he's a pedo. I mean, this is the type of thing that people are thinking about and not many people are actually saying. And so without actually repeating everything, perhaps maybe use different words. How do you feel about the situation about Justin Trudeau? Do you feel like he's crossed an irreversible line? Are you somehow, I don't even know why I bother asking this, but are you somehow pro Trudeau? Let me know it down in the comments. And for the final piece, we're going to be taking a look at this viral video that Pierre Poilievre posted. Him and his production team, they understand what they're doing, and they're doing it very well. So this video has over 2 million views on X in one day, in 24, just over 24, 48 hours. Housing hell, how we got here, and how we get out. So buckle up, folks. We're not going to watch the full thing, but we're definitely going to take a look at part of it. And before we do, let's take a look at some of the comments. Amazing Zoltan says it's very unusual and uncommon for the leader of the opposition to openly call for common sense solutions while not being the governing party. That's very true. It's very rare that you see an opposition party saying we need common sense, because usually that's the motto of the governing party is we need to attack this with common sense. So it's a pretty good and advantageous that the Conservatives were actually the first to that punch. Then you have en masse immigration. Whoever had the idea for this video on your staff deserves a raise. We haven't even watched it yet, and I can already agree with that. Get out by stopping mass immigration. That is all. So it seems like there's a reoccurring pattern that mass immigration is a massive issue. So before I click on the video, I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you think mass immigration is an issue? If you do, please explain why.
Something new and strange has happened in Canada.
Canada is sitting on probably one of the largest housing bubbles of all times.
Something we haven't seen before. An entire generation of youth now say they will never be able to afford a home. This is not normal for Canada.
We've got students who are living in their vehicles because they couldn't find a place to live.
Tens of thousands of Canadians could default, Moshe, on their mortgages. And are we looking at that kind of nightmare scenario?
After generations of affordable and stable Canadian home prices, it now takes 66% of the average monthly income to make payments on the average single-detached Canadian house.
And by the way, 66% of the average monthly income. The banks normally, the stress test, I think it's like 33%, and they add a stress test to bring it up to maybe around 40% in case of rate hikes or inflation. So the fact that there's already data that proves that it's way beyond reasonable reach. It's out of our hands, out of our control. 66% is insane. I mean, if you're renting or if you're leasing a car and you have a mortgage, yikes, right? Yikes. So that if 66% of your income, I mean, you're even rent is out of control as well. And that's kind of the issue we're having is, what do you do? What do you do, right? You can't go out. You can't feed yourself. You're living month to month. You got to transfer balances on different credit cards. If kids are involved, it's becoming so much more unrealistic to live in today's society with the current prices and having any sort of somewhat decent quality of life.
Given that most of the remaining 34% of the family paycheck is taken up by taxes, there's literally nothing left for food and recreation. And that all assumes that you have enough for a down payment to get the mortgage in the first place. Saving up.
It's $250,000 for a down payment in Toronto, Vancouver, and almost Victoria. Holy crap. That is insane. That's depressing. And then Hamilton, 62 grand. That's still a decent chunk of money. I mean, if you're paying rent and rent is consuming, 30 to 50% or even more of your income, you're never going to get ahead to save up $62,000, right? That is just, it's insane. It's insane, folks. Holy crap.
Up for that down payment in Toronto now takes an average of 25 years. Not long ago, you paid off a mortgage in that time. So young people must rent, but rent has doubled in the last 8 years. Newlyweds now pay $1,000 per month to rent a single room in a townhouse that they share with 2 other couples. 35-year-olds live in their parents' basements. Rents are so high in Toronto that students live in homeless shelters. Others sleep in their cars or even under bridges just to afford to go to university. One grandmother posted signs on hydro poles trying to find a place to live. Middle-class people like nurses and carpenters now live in their vehicles. Tent cities are popping up.
I've done that. That's actually how I saved up to purchase my current house. For those who don't know, just like a little bit of a history lesson about me, I lived in a van for about 4 years, and then I upgraded into a 5th wheel, and then I was able to upgrade into a house. And it took 4 years of living in a van to be able to accumulate the funds to actually to be able to afford a house. Now, I probably could have done it earlier because I did reinvest a decent amount of money back into my vans. I had 2 vans and 3 different conversions, and the final conversion is quite glamping. It's not like a dungy type of van, but it started out dungy and it was bare bones. And I remember going around different parts of Vancouver Island with a extension cable, literally plugging in my charger for my batteries into businesses. I don't know if I'm admitting it to a crime right now. If I am, this is just hypothetical. I've never actually done this, but in this hypothetical scenario, when I lived in my dungy van, I would hypothetically take my battery charger with an extension cable and plug it into businesses. Hypothetically, to hypothetically take power. Hypothetically. Times are tough for me. So I can't imagine now, man. This is like a few years ago when groceries were actually somewhat affordable. Now it's just insane.
In almost every major city and many small towns in Canada, mostly in places that never had them before. And because homeless shelters are overflowing with people, new refugees are now told to live on the streets and under bridges. Now, like all countries, we've always had problems. Throughout Canada's past, though, almost anyone who got a job could save up and buy a home by their mid-20s. When did all that change? About 8 years ago.
What a coinkydink.
But in a little under a decade, Canada's housing costs have basically doubled. The rent has doubled. Mortgage payments doubled. The needed down payment on an average home doubled. Double trouble. Think about that. Housing costs have gone up more since 2015 than they had in all the years before that combined.
And you can't blame the illegal invasion of Russia on Ukraine. You can't blame that because this actually happened. It was happening leading up to the coup, and the coup, I mean, that on its own, I don't know how you'd be able to make any sort of declaration that this could have been avoidable if it wasn't for the coup. I don't know, but maybe Pierre does say this in a video. I'm not sure.
8 years ago, the average 1-bedroom rent was about $970. The average today, $1,871. The average needed down payment, about $23,000. Today, $51,000. 8 years ago, the average mortgage payment was about $1,400.
Oh my God! No, 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 no! $3,500 for the average mortgage? Oh God! No, I need to stop watching this. I'm sorry, folks. I don't want to watch the full video. I want you to go and give Pierre the view. So if you want to finish this, we've watched 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and that you can find on his X account, or, I mean, it's probably on his YouTube as well. This is insanely depressing. $3,500 for the average mortgage across Canada. Folks, the average monthly salary after taxes across Canada, I can't suspect it's like above $7,000. I don't see that happening. I feel like it's around between $3,500 and $5,000. And so it's depressing, and we need we need a fix, and we need a common sense solution. And that's why the Conservatives are so popular, is because they're attacking everything with common sense. that's where we're going to end today's video, folks. I want to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. Thank you so much, guys. The link for that is down in the description or the pinned comment below. I love you all. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.